Coles with New Vision Photography Program in the District of Columbia. We'd like to introduce you to an idea that we call Disability News Network, or DNN. The idea behind DNN is to compile various news stories of interest to the disability community. We intend to feature stories from several media outlets which highlight stories concerning issues and individuals with various types of developmental and physical disabilities. We compile stories from local, national, and international media outlets to showcase the news stories that DNN considers important and inspirational in highlighting the capabilities of individuals within the disability community. The types of stories DNN intends to share fall into three broad categories. The first category includes general disability news stories of national significance regarding disabilities policy and political issues of importance for the disability community. The second category we call disability lifestyles, which focus on individuals with disabilities who make a positive impact on their communities and the world. The final category is disability sports, which covers everything from athletes with disabilities to events such as Special Olympics, Paralympics, among others. We believe that Disability News Network is a unique concept in aggregating disability news from a variety of sources, and hope that you enjoy this first edition of this show.
Welcome to Disability News Network, the first and only online news channel focusing on national and local media stories concerning the disability community. I'm Gigi Blackshear.
And I'm Hernica Rivera. Among those most affected by the damage and power losses brought by Hurricane Sandy were the physically and mentally disabled. Uncounted thousands remain isolated, hungry, cold, and fearful. CBS reporter Wilhelm Marks visited a group home for disabled residents and filed this report for CBS News.
For the mentally disabled on Long Island, 10 residents and 5 caregivers are housed here, and there's been no power since Monday.
It's not greatly lit. We don't want any accidents. And this is the main living space where everybody's pretty much been hanging out, right?
These men and women may be lucky to have a roof over their heads, but Sandy's wreaked a different kind of havoc amongst this most vulnerable segment of society.
It's the daily disruption that it rocks their world to a different extent than I think a lot of people understand.
Without heat and often in the dark, it's the usual forms of entertainment, television and video games that are missed the most.
This is how their days are spent. Regimen and a schedule makes it a lot easier for them to function on a daily basis.
This group home is one of hundreds up and down New York State that still has no power. In New York City, some powerless residents have had to abandon surroundings that were comfortingly familiar.
Come on in here.
Christopher still sleeps in his own room on Long Island, but sleep has been difficult since Sandy.
I was completely frightened. I had no idea what I was going to do.
But caregivers like Nataro say their shared experiences will help weather this latest storm.
The little things.
Say their shared experiences will help weather this latest storm.
The little things, the thank yous here and there. I don't think they realize how much it means to the staff when they recognize that we're here because we care.
A lot of these caregivers have been working round the clock all week in the cold and dark out of a commitment to those they care for and the work they do. In the meantime, they've struggled to make it home to see their own families and get on with their own lives.
Back here in Washington, disability advocates say they are concerned about possible upcoming cuts to federal programs that affect individuals with disabilities. Disability advocates say that unless Congress reaches a budget deal by January, more than $100 billion in cuts could impact programs from special education to disability employment programs.
Under a process known as sequestration, funding for most federal programs is set to be slashed by at least 8.2%. While entitlement programs like Medicaid and Social Security are not part of the cuts mandated under sequestration, they are likely to be considered in a spending deal given that they are big dollar programs.
During the deficit reduction debate in 2011, New Vision Photography Program worked with the disability advocacy organization, the ARC, on a campaign known as Don't Cut Our Lifeline. The campaign was successful at the time in helping persuade policymakers not to make cuts to Medicare in a temporary budget deal.
Possible future cuts to programs like Medicaid, disability rights advocates are once again lobbying policymakers on Capitol Hill to consider the cost effectiveness of Medicaid and Social Security for individuals with disabilities. As negotiations take place to determine the amount of funding for individuals with disabilities, we take a closer look back at some stories that helped the campaign prevent Medicaid funding cuts last year.
Well, Bailey, she's 10 years old, and she has significant disabilities. She has global delays and a very significant seizure disorder. I think that our life, the well-being of her and her siblings, would really be impacted in a negative way. We'd be very isolated, and it would be challenging to get out into the community. You don't want that to happen, do you? And that would significantly impact the emotional, mental, and physical health. I think for all our family members, probably our marriage would be a bit stressed more than usual. And you know, I worry, like, I think about, you know, would we be able to afford college and those types of things for other children, and so that they can have the life that they want, and hopefully we'll be able to.
Grayson was born with tetralogy of Fallot with pulmonary atresia, and he started off in Cincinnati Children's Hospital, was there 6.5 months at birth, has had 3 major open heart surgeries, and he also has DeGeorge syndrome too, which affects different body systems, and his airway and heart are the only systems so far that we know that has been affected. I would be forced to quit my job. There would be no other people who are trained to take care of Grayson. His therapies, his special food that he gets, we would have just the already hectic, stressful daily life would be increased dramatically for us.
Disability News Network will be back after these messages.
Oh, sure. We have plenty of employees that you could label as different, like Janice. Fashion deficient. And Tom, copy incapable.
Oh, it's open kimono time!
Looking good, Dan.
Oh, we want
Volume control syndrome. But we focus on the talent and skill that each person brings to the team. I mean, no one's really concerned about labels. Not even mine.
Labels get in the way. Disabilities rarely do. Visit thinkbeyondthelabel.com to evolve your workforce.
Sure, I'd like to diversify my workforce. I just wish that all of the important information was gathered together in one place.
Done.
Thanks. Do you work here?
Not yet.
From tax info to debunking myths, the Field Guide to Evolving Your Workforce has everything you need. Download it now at thinkbeyondthelabel.com.
Because my parents told me I have to be responsible.
Because my first coach told me, you can do this.
Because my teacher helped me see the choices.
Because my coach treated me like everybody else.
Because my boss showed me how to do a good job.
Because a mentor believed in my potential.
Is why I am where I am today.
I'm swimming faster than I ever dreamed I could.
I discovered that I could work as an artist.
I led my high school team to 2 championships.
I am a valuable employee.
I have a career that I am passionate about.
I will be whatever I want to be.
What can you do?
What can you do?
Like all young people, youth with disabilities should grow up expecting to work and succeed. For more information, visit whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
when life deals you a blow. When you are looked upon as different, but despite your challenges, you make the most of it. This is the story of Simona Tsori, a motivational speaker from Italy. Simona traveled to Africa to inspire others with her attitude. Willis Ruburu has this report from Kenya.
As Simona Atroza walks through the airport terminus, one cannot immediately tell that she is disabled. And even when you make that discovery, you cannot even begin to fathom her ability to use her disability to her advantage. Take some time with her, and you will soon discover that there is more to her than meets the eye. Simona was born with no hands. It seemed at the time that life had dealt her an unfair blow, but she saw things differently. She quickly learned to use her legs as one would their hands. She now comfortably sips her tea using her foot, flips through the dailies using the same, and even expresses herself as she converses with her friends. That's not all she does with her legs. Simona is also a contemporary dancer, a painter, and a motivational speaker. She travels across the globe visiting universities and other institutions, and her message is clear.
We all have wonderful gifts, and it doesn't matter how you were born.
Simona says she has a love for life that remains untainted despite her disability, and she believes that everybody has a story worth telling. And as she sits and enjoys a meal, those around her can only sit and draw from the fountain of hope that flows out of her. She is in the country for a few weeks and will be in Nyahururu and Nairobi, spreading her infectious laughter, optimism and enthusiasm, as well as her passion for life, to those who are willing to share a page from the Book of Simona, one that has been written with the ink of determination and bound with the grace to live life happily and live it to the fullest, without any misgivings. Willis Ruburu, Citizen Weekend.
In our next story, we'd like to introduce you to the next Congresswoman from Illinois' 8th District. Tammy Duckworth is a veteran who is the first female double amputee from the Iraq War. She was later fitted with prosthetics and is now fully mobile. In 2009, she was appointed by President Obama to be Assistant Secretary at the Department of Veterans Affairs. In 2011, she decided to run for Congress and introduce her story in this campaign video.
Now, my dad was a veteran, put himself through college on the GI Bill, and worked really hard, and then boom, at 55, he found himself without a job because the company he worked for was sold. There were lots of times when we would not have eaten had it not been for the food stamps that kept our family going. What seems like comfort and security one day can just all be taken away very quickly the next.
I see her in the professional setting and I see her in her private lives, and she really just exhibits courage in every sense.
I was very privileged to be one of the first Army women to fly combat missions in Iraq.
She's got a deep sense of gratitude for the guys that actually carried her off out of that bloody field, put her on another helicopter, and got her out of there. They didn't have to do that. I mean, it looked like she was dead.
There's no reason why I made it home other than through the heroism of my buddies. And I really see this time as a bonus time, but also that I have an obligation to do more during this time in my life. Because ultimately, on the worst day that I have here, it's never going to be as bad as it was in Iraq. And that allows me to be more fearless, and it allows me to take chances, and it allows me to speak up.
I haven't seen the wounds, I haven't seen the pain or any of the things that she's gone through ever stop her from doing anything.
I met Brian in ROTC. We were both cadets at the same time. He made some sort of a comment about women and their service in combat.
There was this other cadet who made a disparaging comment about females.
I must have glared at him, I guess.
And I felt this glow on my cheek, and I turned and I looked, and there's this rather tall Asian woman with an M16 rifle. She just did not look happy. So I went over and I offered to help her clean her rifle, which she already knew full well how to do.
Girls gotta love a guy who comes and helps her clean her rifle. And he got my phone number after that. You know, I'm really grateful to President Obama for giving me the opportunity to serve in Washington at the Department of Veterans Affairs. It really allowed me to serve my buddies and fight for our vets, not just the ones who come home wounded, but those who come home and who just need a job or want to go back to school. You know, life isn't fair. And it's not government's job to make life fair. But government shouldn't hurt you, it should help you. So that if you're 55 years old like my dad and you lose your job, we should have programs and incentives out there so that small employers will hire you. So that if you need to be retrained, there are programs out there that will help you to find those new skills. You may not come from a wealthy family and have no idea how you're going to go to college, but there should be programs there that help you get that education that you need so that you have a shot at the American dream. Because if you're not willing to give up when life isn't fair, then we're not going to give up on you either.
Tammy Duckworth's physical challenges have not prevented her from accomplishing any of her goals. She continues to serve in the Illinois National Guard but has not flown an aircraft as a pilot since sustaining her injuries. A few years ago, she decided that she wanted to take up recreational flying. The Chicago Tribune produced a story on her efforts to accomplish this incredible feat.
Instructors want you to learn about the engines because if something goes wrong in the air, you need to be able to diagnose what the problem is to keep yourself flying and keep yourself alive and safe in the air. I am a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. I was injured north of Baghdad 5 years ago when I was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade in flight. I haven't flown very much since then, but it never left me, and I am now back learning to fly small airplanes, and hopefully I'll get my license back. I thought I would be able to get back in Black Hawks, but with the technology for artificial limbs as it is, I'm not able to do that. But I am able to fly these beautiful little aircraft, and I'm thrilled to be flying again. Well, there are a lot of differences between fixed-wing and helicopters, but one of the first things that sort of got me a little tense in the cockpit, as I'd like to say, is that in my Black Hawk, I didn't land faster than 60 knots, which is about 75 miles an hour, because you come into a hover. In an airplane, you have to land at least 70 knots, so you're going a lot faster than you're used to in the helicopter in terms of coming in for a landing. So my every instinct was to slow down, which is not a good thing to do in an airplane because they don't hover very well. I knew all about my turbine engine in the Black Hawk. I don't know much about piston engine other than what I'm learning right now. All right, all the pieces are here and the big turning thingy is in front. You know, flying to me is freedom. I leave my wheelchair behind, I get in the aircraft, and I'm at control of a machine again. Clear! Clear! And up in the sky, it doesn't matter that I'm disabled, you know. And it's just about the love of flying and the freedom that I have when I'm back in the sky. And for me, it's joy, it's relaxation. It's also a challenge, and I love challenges. And it's a little bit of my old life back. I'll never be able to be what I was 5 years ago as an Army helicopter pilot. But this gives me a little taste of what I was able to do, which is fly.
Disability News Network will be back after these messages.
I can solve difficult problems for a Fortune 500 company.
I can run a successful business.
I can manage your home improvements.
I can publicize your message.
I can motivate your audience.
I can put my military experience to work for your company.
I can teach your children.
I can boost your bottom line.
I can add value to your workplace.
I could be a loyal and productive employee.
But I can't put my skills to work for your organization
if I'm not given the opportunity.
If you don't recognize my talents and ability.
If you don't hire me.
If you don't have an open mind and a workplace that's open to everyone.
If you don't realize that America works best when everybody works.
What can you do?
What can you do?
What can you do?
You can remember that it worked.
It's what people can do.
It's what people can do that matters.
Nearly 50 million Americans have disabilities. Capitalize on their talents with employment practices that benefit everyone. Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
This is Margaret.
Working in the school cafeteria.
This is her boss.
Ivan Katz, superintendent of schools. The thing about Margaret is she particularly takes pride in her work.
This is one of the school's students.
She's a wonderful person. I was playing with my friends at lunchtime, and then all of a sudden, I started choking on a meatball. I felt like I could barely move. She came over to me, and she did the Heimlich maneuver to save my life.
Not only do I consider her a hero, we recognize Margaret at a Board of Education meeting in January by giving her a Staff Recognition Award. We as a district, and me personally, we could not be prouder of Margaret's actions. She saved that child's life.
There's one more thing Margaret would like you to know about her.
I have a disability.
Question your assumptions about what people with disabilities can do on the job. Because at work, it's what you can do that matters. What Can You Do campaign.org.
Moving on to sports, there is a national nonprofit organization called Disability Sports USA, which operates in 38 states and organizes events for wounded veterans. Disability Sports USA also organizes events through its chapters in the states of Virginia and Maryland. Disability News Network takes a look at an event held for disabled veterans, the annual Congressional Charity Golf Classic.
Well, Disabled Sports USA provides sports rehabilitation programs for the warriors that are coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq with severe, life-changing injuries.
All right, just give me a normal swing.
We made a pledge that every single wounded warrior that participated in our sports programs, all costs would be provided for them and a family member to participate.
My name is Dean Schwartz. I was a specialist in the U.S. Army, retired now.
My name is Matt Levine with the United States Army. I was an intelligence officer.
Staff Sergeant Richard Arlen Pollock II and the United States Air Force.
Doug Rink. I'm United States Air Force retired, Major.
What we want to do is help those young men and women get back into life, believe in themselves again, regain their self-confidence.
I was injured in 2007 and unfortunately last year I was in a wheelchair, so I just got to watch these guys.
Rocket propelled grenade came in and hit my truck and it blew through my leg.
I'm pretty much below the waist is all rebuilt with titanium rods and screws.
I got hit in the head 35 times, fracturing my C6 and C7 vertebrae in my neck.
It's very easy when you get traumatic injuries to just kind of wall yourself off from the world, but Disabled Sports particularly puts a smile on our face and gives us something to look forward to when things don't look necessarily so fun.
I got called about, I think a year ago by Kurt Bauer, and he told me, he's like, hey, do you want to come play golf? I was like, absolutely. You know, the good thing about golf, it helps you have to remember exactly how far you hit a golf ball. And for me, I have to take notes, and that's an important step into recovery. Getting back out there, you know, being like a normal person again. For the Congress people to be out here, it shows a tremendous amount of support.
Well, it really means saying thanks to many of our wounded warriors who are willing to fight, who are willing to sacrifice, who have put up a lot of the challenges and left home for us.
We're rallying around such an important cause. What Disabled Sports USA is doing, it's what makes America great.
The men and women that this charity benefits get up every single day and understand what they have in fact sacrificed for this country.
It's not just playing golf, but Disabled Sports USA does some 20 sports for our disabled troops.
Well, it's a great program because it sends a message not only of support but of respect that we're not going to forget the sacrifices you made for our country when you get back home. And we're going to help you rebuild your life and give you the opportunity to play sports. And so it's just a great program.
We'd like to make sure that organizations like Disabled Sports USA and those that are trying to help our wounded warriors really have a chance.
Ping is very proud to be associated with Disabled Sports USA. I mean, what they're doing for the disabled vets is just truly amazing.
I can't say enough for the support that we've received from corporate America because they have enabled us, Disabled Sports USA, to meet our promise to our wounded warriors.
DSUSA came in and showed me that everything I did before was still possible to do after my injury.
Our next story comes from Europe, where Italian paracyclist Alex Zanardi is famous for winning 2 gold medals and a silver at the 2012 London Paralympics. He also has a background as a Formula One race car driver until he was injured in a racing accident 11 years ago that resulted in the amputation of his legs.
Zanardi's disability, however, did not prevent him from excelling at a new sport, Paralympic hand cycling. To mark Zanardi's achievements, BMW painted a gold racing car and let Zanardi take it for a spin around a German racetrack. Zanardi recently spoke about his experience.
First, let me say that sometimes, and it's something that I've experienced myself recently, people stop me on the street, they don't know much about Paralympic sports, and they say, yeah, I know you're going to go to London and win everything, just because I'm Alex Zanardi. But this is, to a certain degree, I take this with a lot of pride, but I also know that it's not that simple, and it wouldn't have been that exciting for me if it was easy to do. Almost 3 years, of course, made me and will make me enjoy this day probably much more than it would have 3 years of passion for this sport, and having been away from it for now almost 3 years, of course, made me and will make me enjoy this day probably much more than it would have 3 years ago. So I'm very, very excited. The car looks beautiful, and painted like that, it's gorgeous.
Over in Belarus, blind soccer players have been part of the Paralympics since 2004. Our next story comes courtesy of England's Guardian newspaper.
Is made up entirely of blind players, and we think you'll agree their skill is impressive. Some lost their eyesight in childhood, while others became blind from illness or injury. Blind football has been a Paralympic sport since 2004. The five-a-side games feature 4 blind players and a seeing goalkeeper on each team. Team members wear eye masks to protect their faces from other players' fingers and use a specially designed ball.
What makes this ball special is that it has small boxes inside filled with metal pellets, and they make noise like this.
The players say that training for blind football has helped them overcome problems in everyday life.
Футбол это все. В данной ситуации лично
Soccer is everything. In this situation, because I have eyesight problems, soccer helps me a lot in my everyday life. To orientate myself in the street, for example. So to hear the sound of the ball and to hear and to find my way while walking, or to orientate myself with a car driving past, or to sit down in a bus, it really helps.
в автобус пересесть, это все-таки помогает.
Disability News will be back after this message.
I'm too weak, too slow, too big. I ate too much for breakfast. Got a headache. It's raining. My dog is sick. I can't right now. I'm not inspired. It makes me smell bad. I'm allergic to stuff. I'm fat. I'm thin. It's too hot. I'm not right. I've got shin splints, headache. I'm distracted. I'm exerting myself too much. I'd love to really, but I can't. I just can't. My favorite show is on. I got a case of the Mondays, the Tuesdays, the Wednesdays. I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. After New Year's. Next week. Might make a mistake. Got homework. I feel bloated. I have gas. I got a hot date. My coach hates me. Mom won't let me. I bruise easily. It's too dark. It's too cold. My blister hurts. This is dangerous. Sorry, I don't have a bike. I didn't get enough sleep. My tummy hurts. It's not in my jeans. I don't want to look all tired out. I need a better coach. I don't like getting tackled. I have a stomach ache. I'm not the athletic type. I want to get sweaty. I have better things to do. I don't want to slow you down. I have to do this as soon as I get a promotion. I think I'll sit this one out. And my feet hurt.
People look at you. They stare. They all stare. They point at you. They shout things. They make you feel different. It's fantastic.
all the time we have for now. We'll be back with more disability news stories in our next show.
We look forward to seeing you next time.